There are some stories that should never be told, but those stories should be embraced. There is something dark and scary about these dark tales. Sometimes dreams and nightmares come true.
I see you.
There's nowhere to hide. Silver Swan Audio Oddities.
Sasha Hall sits in an ER waiting room. She sits there, shaken from events that happened a few hours ago. Her roommate, Matt, had gone to bed, leaving food cooking on the stove, and the apartment they shared caught fire, and Matt was burned. Sasha was at work as a chef assistant at a local fancy restaurant called the Gator Grill. She was in the middle of a busy workday when she got the call. Her boss, David Collin, let her take off work. When Sasha arrived at the apartment, she was horrified to see the fire still spreading. The firefighters had already rescued her roommate Matt and others. No one else was hurt, but the property was damaged. Sasha sits in a blue chair with tears in her eyes. Her fingers are crossed, and she is very worried. She's behind on paying back her student loans, and her credit card debt has increased. She was hospitalized a month ago after breaking her ankle when she fell a few steps at a house party. She is still making payments on the ambulance bill. She has been having panic attacks from all the stress and working hours, trying to catch up on her bills. Her relationship with Terrence had suffered due to less time spent together. How did this happen? What the hell was Matt thinking going to bed with food cooking, she thought. Sasha rubs one hand across her eyes, wiping away tears. She stares around, looking at other people who are there to see a doctor, a boy wheezing from an asthma attack, a woman who looks to be having some sort of drug withdrawal issue, two men who have their arms wrapped in shirts, the shirts soaked in blood, looking like they had some sort of glass injury incident. These people with a look of worry and fear in their eyes. A doctor came to Sasha to let her know that her roommate is in stable condition and that it will be a while until he is released. Sasha waited for Matt's parents to show up. After they did, they spoke, and then she went to her car and drove to a secluded area. She needed to sleep because she has work the next day. She had to get up early to look for a place to stay and move her mail too as well. So many things to do, so many brand new problems to take care of, Sasha tells herself. Sasha fell asleep in her car. She cried herself to sleep. In the morning, she was awakened by a pounding on the back window of her car. A security guard stood outside the car, shouting at her that she was on private property. The air is cold out, and she could see a cloud of smoke pushing out with each word the man shouted. Sasha hurried and crawled to the front of her car from the back of her vehicle. She waved the guy off, trying to signal to him that she is leaving. The guy walked away cussing and waving his arms. Sasha started her car and drove off, leaving the area. Sasha went to a McDonald's and ordered some breakfast, a McGriddle and a coffee. She sat in her car, eating her food, wondering how to move on past the fire. Her things were gone. Computer, clothes, family pictures, books, furniture, so many other things. She knew Matt was going to get the bad end of it for starting the fire that destroyed the property. At least she didn't have to deal with that. Sasha used her phone to search for a cheap place to stay. She searched for hotels and motels in the area, then apartments. She finished her food and took a couple of long sips from her coffee. Sasha then spotted an apartment listing, a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, $670 a month, down payment $200. She saw it was a 15-minute drive to her job. She probably could walk some days. She tried to see if there are images of the property but couldn't find any. She checked her bank account next. $900 in checking, $300 in savings, credit card balances $400, leaving $13,869 owed from past expenses. She decided to go check out the apartment. On her way, her mother called her to see how she was doing. She offered her a place to stay, but Sasha didn't want to move back in with her mother. Their relationship had been better since they lived apart, and going back would break what they had now. Her mother is set in her ways of living, and Sasha to hers. They are too different, and personal priorities would be the undoing of their relationship. Sasha told her mother she loves her, but she will be fine. Her mother kept pressing her on where she would stay. Sasha lied, telling her she had a college girlfriend who would help her out and that she would be fine. Sasha drove up to the property and drove by it, looking at the area. It looked kind of run down, and the area wasn't her cup of tea. A few homeless people walked the streets. She saw some female street workers around another block. She drove back around, seeing a couple of stores close by, small convenience stores. She saw a school down another street and some old houses. She noticed other apartment buildings in the area surroundings. She drove back over to the one in the listing and found a parking spot. Sasha sat in her car trying to work out her thoughts. She looked at her coffee cup, seeing there wasn't much left in it. She knew if she drank what was left, it would be cold now. She didn't care much for cold coffee or coffee turned cold. She went on and drank it. She made a face, feeling disgusted with the aftertaste of it. "Fuck!" she said, shaking her head. She got out of her car, feeling the cool morning air embracing her skin. She reached back into her car, grabbing a thick sweater she had lying in the passenger side seat. She put the green sweater on and shut her car door. Just as she stepped away, a phone notification alert sounded. She opened her phone to see it was a reminder that her phone payment was due soon. She rolled her eyes and closed the screen with her fingers, as her phone is a touchscreen cell phone. Sasha made her way over to the apartment building. The building is 2 stories. 2 abandoned buildings are right next to it. As she got closer, it looked slightly run down and abandoned, like the other 2 buildings beside it. The front door is ajar. Sasha stops in her tracks, starting to feel that this was a mistake. A white guy walked by her, holding 2 small bags of groceries. He said, "Excuse me," as he passed her. He went up the steps to the building using his left foot to kick open the door. He turned, then looked down at Sasha. "You coming in?" he said nicely. "I think so," Sasha said hesitantly. "Well, the landlady is in her office, a few feet into the lounge area. She might be sleeping on her desk. If she is, just knock on the bulletproof glass window she's behind." "Bulletproof?" Sasha says quietly. "She'll hear it." The man says, standing in the doorway. His foot was holding the door open. He then said he had to go. He let the door shut and went to his apartment. Sasha looked around, feeling bad that the only affordable place was a dump. She turned around, seeing a drug deal going down. Across the street, 2 black men who looked like gang members stood by an old mechanic shop. A green car pulls up, and a young man gets out and is handed something. Sasha looked away when one of the gang members spotted her. He gave her a head nod like he was saying, "What's up?" Sasha went into the apartment building, ignoring the man, and the man laughed, making a face like he found her attractive. He rubs his chin and grins. Sasha walks down the hallway and then turns, facing the check-in office. It's an odd place to have it. An old woman sits behind a glass. She has thick glasses on, long, messy gray and white hair. She is frail-looking, lots of wrinkles in her face. The woman has lines around her lips, probably from smoking so much. The whole area smells like cigarette smoke. The building is dimly lit, like the lights are fading or dying out. The wallpaper is out of style. Some parts of it are discolored, some of it is ripped or hanging off the walls. The carpet is dirty and has stains in it. Some stains look very questionable. "I'm here for the 1 bedroom for $670 a month, Sasha says with a quivering voice. She regretted her decision to ever show up at this place. In the back of her mind, Sasha thought she just probably should take her mother's offer, but she would have to pretend and keep herself from arguing with her mother when she got on her nerves. She just couldn't go back. The old lady smiled, revealing yellow teeth and bad gums. She sat up in her chair, and Sasha could hear some of the woman's old bones popping and cracking as she adjusted herself in her seat. The old woman then spoke. "You are lucky, my dearie. I have a special going, $540 for that room. She laughed with a cough. Sasha's eyes widened. That price was perfect. She could save even more money and have some left to pay off her debt. Sasha smirked, batting her eyelids rapidly. The old lady then spoke again with a smile on her face. "Are you interested, dear?" the woman says, grabbing a set of keys. Sasha shook her head, yes, and smiled. Sasha pulled out cash for the deposit, and the old lady squinted her eyes and smiled at Sasha, placing one hand up. "No, my dear, you should look at the place first before you decide you want to stay here. Don't you think that would be a good idea?" The old woman gave a side grin with a slight head tilt. "Yes, I've just been going through so much. It's like my brain is trying to make me complete all tasks quickly. I'm sorry," Sasha says nervously. The old woman leaves her office and walks over to Sasha. She is 5 feet 1 inch with a slight hunch to her back. She is wearing an old sweater and slacks. She has on a colorful scarf, and she limps as she walks. "Follow me, my dear." "Oh yeah, my name is Diana," the woman says to Sasha. "I'm Sasha," Sasha replies kindly. "You know something? You're a pretty woman for a Negro," the old woman says, walking forward. Sasha bites her bottom lip gently, feeling uneasy after hearing the woman's comment. Pretty name. It does sound like a color folk name, but then again, I met a couple of white Sashas. Back in the day, we didn't have much colored folk come around these parts. But ever since this part of the city lost its upper-class individuals, the place has gone to hell in a handbasket. Hoodlums, tramps, pimps, thieves, corrupted police department that doesn't give a rat's ass. What are we going to do? It is what it is. Sasha smiled awkwardly as she followed the old woman. They had taken the stairs to the second floor and went down a long hall with a flickering light casting down. The light would stay on for a moment, then start flickering more. "Well, here it is," the old woman says. She unlocks the door and steps inside apartment 6. Sasha looked down at the hallway, seeing a few other doors, then at the staircase they came up. She thought the place looked crappy and slightly old school. It looks like it needs to be renovated. It also reminded her of a haunted house. Sasha stepped inside and noticed the walls had a light blue color to them. No wallpaper, just blue painted walls. The apartment didn't look half bad. It is small, a living room area right when you walk in, a kitchen on the far right side of the doorway, then a short hallway leading to the bedroom. The bathroom has a bathtub and a shower. The toilet is right next to the tub. Sasha went into the master bedroom. She smiled. It looked good. She could see herself sleeping in it. She went to the wide window with closed blinds, then opened the blinds. She looked down, seeing a gated fence that crossed the property and a sidewalk. 2 kids were walking their dogs. She looked at the other buildings around, then she closed the blinds. Diana stood next to the front door, ready to leave. She watched Sasha walk around looking. Sasha opened a few cabinets in the kitchen and saw that there was a laundry room closet. She didn't have a washer and dryer, but with the money she will save, she can plan to get one. "So, what do you think?" Diana says to Sasha with a grin. Her wrinkled eyelines squint upward on her face as her cheeks rise. Her yellow teeth smile is in view. "I'll take it," Sasha says, feeling excited. After Sasha moved in, she only had a mattress and a small TV in which she got from a pawn shop, a fridge with not much food. She didn't care much about the food because she isn't a big eater. Most of the food she had was brought from her job. Leftovers her boss let the staff take. She was able to get some bed sheets and a blanket for the cold nights. One morning, she was walking to work. It was something she started doing to save on gas money. Sasha was leaving her apartment and spotted the guy she met on her first day there, who was holding a large lizard and petting it. Sasha was a bit terrified of the lizard. She needed to walk by the man to make her way out of the building, and she didn't want to let the man know that she was afraid of his pet. "Hey, you," the man says as he stands in the hall. "I just took her out for some air. This is my pet green iguana, Lucy. She won't bite." Sasha kept her distance, trying to walk by the man. The man has short, curly brown, messy hair, an attractive face with a little beard stubble. His eyes are hazel, and he is thin. "My name is Peter," I just didn't want to be one of those neighbors who pass by every day with a wave and head nod. Then soon, days passed, and we know each other, but not the names, only the friendly gestures. So, just wanted to tell you my name. Sasha grinned at him. She then spoke nervously. My name is Sasha. Sorry, I'm just freaked out at large, scaly animals. Oh, sorry, you don't have to worry though. Lucy is friendly. Here, I'll put her inside. Peter went into his apartment, and Sasha needed to leave for work, but she didn't want to be rude and just go. Peter returned to the hall. I'm sorry that I must have stopped you from something. You can go, I just needed to warn you about something before you go, Peter says shyly with eyes looking away. Sasha was about to turn and walk off, but she stopped after hearing that he wanted to share something. What is it? Sasha says, looking concerned. Peter walked closer to Sasha and lowered his voice. The apartment next to yours is haunted, apartment number 7. I don't know if you believe in the supernatural beings, but there is something going on. Peter says quietly. I don't know about that stuff, Sasha replies. Yeah, but at night around 9:30 p.m., just don't be standing in the hallway, don't answer your door if you hear a knock around that time, and if you stumble across the bride, run, hide, do not let her grab you. Bride? Sasha says, not understanding Peter. She stares into Peter's eyes, seeing that the man is being very serious with her. Yes, some people in the neighborhood call her the bride. She wears a wedding dress and is missing her human face. She walks the halls at night, searching for a new person to drag to hell. She once was a beautiful woman who was going to be wedded. The day of her wedding, her husband-to-be found out she had slept with his brother years ago. Years before she ever knew him, the man flipped into a violent rage. The bride was putting on her makeup when he burst into their apartment. He grabbed her and unleashed a violent attack. It was said that people could hear her screams coming through the walls of the building. When the police showed up, they arrested the boyfriend. He was covered in blood. He kept apologizing to the police, saying he didn't mean to. When they found the bride, her face was skinned off from a knife her ex-lover had brought. Her whole body was battered and bruised, each finger broken, her spine snapped. Her facial expression left in a terror and screaming reaction. A few years had passed, and people started hearing a woman crying in the hallway at night. When people opened their doors to see if the sobbing woman was okay, they were attacked. Each person who came in contact with the bride was found dead in the hall or somewhere else. Some who let her into their apartment by mistake were also killed. Some may say it's her vengeance for no one coming to save her from her brutal attack when she was alive. One dark, cold night, the bride left the apartment building. Neighbors saw her walk down the hallway crying and limping, her skeletal, boned face with a white veil drifting, her ghostly body moving in a jittery way, sometimes reappearing, teleporting to other parts of the building. She walked right outside, then down the street. The neighbors watched from their windows, hiding in the dark, peeking outside. People who met with her on the street died as well. Bodies dropped with fingernails poke holes in the throats. The next day, the man who killed her those years ago, her ex-boyfriend, her husband-to-be, met with the same fate as those who crossed her path. He was found in prison with his face scratched off, ripped to ribbons, and throat ripped open. They say they found fingernail scrapes and finger holes in his neck. His body was found in his cell, with a horror-screaming expression left on his face. One of his eyes was missing. Later, a policewoman found it outside sitting on a fence spike. As time went on, more and more people left this building due to fear of running into the bride. So if you hear her or see her, stay away. Peter let out a breath and stepped back. Sasha raised her brows, thinking Peter might be a bit nutty. Thanks for telling me, Peter. But ghosts are not real. I must go. I'll be late for work. Sasha says, heading away. Peter has a worried expression on his face, seeming to find himself repeating what he has told others who moved in. Work has picked up and Sasha was working long hours. The head chef was becoming more demanding. Sasha cooked and completed most of the orders on time. She wanted to stay off Chef Raymond's radar. The man would yell at people and shout in their faces. She only got side-mean glances from him when he disapproved of some of her trays. In a way, she felt he liked her. He seemed to slightly flirt with her, but she couldn't tell because he would be nice to others at times. One night, Sasha was walking home, and she was coming up to a corner that had a group of black young men standing, smoking, having conversations. She could smell the weed and liquor. She had to walk past them. If she darted across the street to the other side, it might cause them to feel she was trying to avoid them, and they might take offense to it and do something. Sasha whispers a small prayer as she walks up to them, hoping they won't bother her. "Where are you going, shorty?" one man says with dreadlocks. He has tattoos all over his face and body. His gold grill shines when he speaks. Sasha ignored him and kept walking. When she did, another guy stepped in front of her, his pants sagging and his underwear half hanging out. This man is shirtless and looks rough in the face. He has a long chin beard. "Hey bitch, my partner is talking to you. You going to be disrespectful to my homie?" the man says, stepping up to Sasha. "I didn't mean to, I have to get home." "Excuse me," Sasha says quickly. The man with the grill walked to the side of Sasha and sniffed her face with a big sniff. He let out a breath on her cheek. "Damn it, girl, you smell like you've been in a kitchen slaving. You smell good as fuck." Sasha was scared and tried to sidestep and keep walking. Another thug walked to her, blocking her. He has a blind eye, and the other eye is brown and wide. His teeth seem to grit as he makes a smug look, placing his face up against Sasha's forehead. "You right, my guy. She smells good as fuck. I bet she tastes really good too." The man grabbed her waist and shoved her into his body. Sasha pushed the man off and took off running. She screamed as she ran off the sidewalk to the street. A car nearly hit her in the street, and the men all laughed at her. Sasha ran as fast as she could, fearing she might be chased. The gang members didn't chase after her. They waved her off and walked down the street, drinking and joking around. Sasha made it to her building out of breath. She climbed the few steps it had and walked inside. Once inside, she walked past the building manager's office. Sasha stood there trying to calm herself. She then looked up, noticing why this building has a check-in area like a motel or a hotel. Is this an apartment building? The listing says it is. She then went to peek out the front door of the building, looking to see if she was followed. There is no one there. A few guys were jogging down the street. Sasha walked up the steps to the second floor. She then heard something. A woman crying. The sound reminded her of Peter's story. She pulled out her cell phone and saw it is 9:55 p.m. She looked to her side, seeing the door open to apartment number 7. A pale, skeleton woman in a bride's dress steps out. Sasha unlocks her door in a hurry, then rushes inside. She locks her door, then trips over her own feet, falling to the floor. Her cell phone slid across the carpeted floor, hitting a wall. She couldn't believe it. What the hell was that? She thought. Sasha crawled over to the kitchen and hid behind a cabinet. She only saw part of the ghost. In it was enough to make her believe. Then, shortly after 5 minutes of quietness, 3 knocks are heard on her front door. Sasha's eyes widened in fear. She began to tremble. Then the crying started, moaning and crying. It had to be loud enough that others could hear it. She only knew a few others who stayed in the building. A black man in apartment 3, a single dad, Peter, with his lizard, and a Hispanic woman with 2 daughters. Sasha heard the crying and was too afraid to move. After 10 minutes had passed, she decided to peek over at the door. When she did, she wished she hadn't. A transparent apparition of the ghost woman's head was coming through the door, looking around with her empty eye sockets. Her mouth opened up, letting out cries. Sasha panicked and turned away, covering her face with her shirt. She nearly shouted, but didn't. The bride then steps inside and moans. She walks around the living room crying, her long fingernails to her sides. She faces towards the kitchen, then cries more. She then slowly walks to the kitchen. Sasha placed the back of her hand into her mouth. The sounds of her sobs silenced, and she could feel the ghost getting closer. The bride placed both hands on the countertop and let out a ghostly scream. Sasha was lying on the floor at this point, with her shirt pulled up over her face. The bride heard someone talking outside the apartment window. and she turned to it. A homeless man pushed a cart full of cans. He was drunk and humming out a tune as he walked. The bride vanished and reappeared behind the man. The streetlights flickered, and the bride walked slowly, wavering her long fingers in the air with her hands to her sides. The homeless man found 2 empty cans of Sprite. He picked them up and tossed them in his cart. He then felt the presence of the bride. He turned and yelled out loud in horror. Her facial expression became sinister, and she lunged at him. In the morning, police had part of the street taped off. There was a huge blood stain on the sidewalk close to the apartment building. Sasha slept in the kitchen closet that night. She took a shower and fought with the decision to leave. How does Peter do it? How to deal with staying in this building? Is it easy to avoid the bride? All you have to do is be home before 9 and do not come in contact with the bride. I can do that, Sasha says to herself. When Sasha left the apartment, a news team was outside covering the story of the homeless man. The news reporter woman walked over to Sasha, asking her if she had seen anything from last night. Sasha said no and hurried away. As she walked, she wondered if the bride had something to do with the incident the reporter was questioning her about. As she reached her job, she realized that she wanted to start driving again. She didn't want to run into gang members again or anyone else who might be dangerous. She had forgotten and was disturbed about walking home again after work. As the orders came pouring in, she worked her magic. Lunch rush was big on Friday, so Sasha stepped up her game. She was stirring soup over the hot stove when the head chef walked over to her and whispered in her left ear, "Thank you." He patted her on the back and walked away. This made Sasha feel a little better. When was the last time she was thanked for something she did? And by the head chef, who people constantly try to avoid. This was special. It brightened up her day, and she started to enjoy her job a little bit more. On her break, she sat outside with her back against the wall, eating a cold sandwich that she bought on her way to work from a convenience store. 2 co-workers walked outside with the head chef behind them, and Sasha wiped her eyes because she was feeling down with everything going on financially, and with the bad encounters from last night. Chef Raymond speaks with a kind expression on his face. His eyes look humble and sincere. "Sasha, we know you've been having a rough patch, and we came together and wanted to help you out." Chef Raymond says with a smile, "The staff and I put together a bit of money to help you out. You have been such a good friend to all of us, including me. I can be a bit of a tiger at times, but when I am, you handle it well. Always so kind and sweet. This money is to help you make things better for your situation. I know you will use it to take care of some issues that have been stressful, so here you go." Raymond hands over an envelope filled with cash. Sasha stood up and thanked them with tears in her eyes. She gave a hug to everyone, then they all went back into the restaurant. Once inside, the other staff members clapped and cheered for her. The owner, David Collins, went to her and handed her a gift basket the staff had put together. Sasha was surprised and told all her co-workers, "Thank you." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she smiled at them with joy. Sasha's workday went by fast because of how busy it was. She hadn't thought about the haunting of the bride all day. When it started getting dark out, that's when she remembered the ghost. She looked at the time. It was 8:40 p.m. There were still a few customers walking in for orders. She knew she didn't want to see that bride again, and walking home was off the table. Sasha went to Chef Raymond's office. She asked if she could get a schedule change, so she didn't have to be there until late. He needed a few minutes to think about it, but he came to his decision and told her she could. Sasha ordered an Uber and went outside and waited for it after work. The Uber showed up and she was taken to her apartment. When she exited the car, she thanked the driver and closed the door. She looked around, seeing not much happening on the streets. She pulled out her phone and saw it was now 9:09 p.m. She walked to the building door, and it was slightly open like always. She went inside and walked by the building manager's office. The old woman sat in her high chair, staring at Sasha through the bulletproof glass. "It's late, dearie. You might want to not go upstairs tonight. You can take a rest in here behind me. I have a sleeping bag back here." Sasha stares at the woman, just now realizing the woman probably knew the whole time about the bride and was wanting to protect her. Now the old woman looks worried. If not, you should just sleep somewhere else tonight, the woman says to Sasha as she nearly lost her voice. Sasha was still feeling excited about the money she had gotten, and knowing it would help her out a lot, she didn't want the bride to bring her day to a breaking end. Sasha smiled at the lady and said, "Thank you, but no thank you." As Sasha turned away, she told the lady good night. Sasha walked down the hallway, passing apartment 7. As she passed the door, it opened, and in the crack of the door, a skeleton's bride's face set with empty eye sockets. "I've been waiting for you," a haunting voice says to Sasha. The lights in the hall began to flicker, and Sasha moved away from the door fast and rushed to her apartment. Just as she got to her door, she was grabbed up, her feet leaving the floor. 4 of those men she encountered the other night had followed her and decided to act on their intentions. Sasha went to scream, but one of the men covered her mouth. The one with the gold grill began to zip down his fly. After throwing off his coat to the floor, he was telling her, "Get ready for Big Daddy." The guy with one blind eye held her tightly as she kicked and scrambled to break free. The man with tattoos all over his face and body stepped into view, then smacked her around. When he was finished, he grabbed her by the chin and made her look at him. "You disrespected me and my boys the other night. Do you think you're special?" the man says, yanking at her face, making her head jolt with each pull. Sasha begged the man to let her go with muffled cries. She couldn't talk because the other thug was now holding a knife to her face. "You better not scream, or you won't be such a pretty girl anymore. You see, we just want to have fun with you. Just think of it as a date with 4 friends. You got that good chocolate skin, that brown sugar going on there." The man says to Sasha, then he tries to rip open her shirt and fails. The shirt stays up and one button pops off. This infuriates him, and he yanks off her sweater and starts trying to pull open her undershirt. The man with the grill has his pants pulled down and is holding his phone out, recording the whole thing. He smiles and tells his friends to let him go first. Peter opens his front door and rushes out of his apartment. He has a cooking pot in his hand. Peter hits one of the guys in the back of the head. A younger gang member who was standing to the side, watching, holding a gun was hit, and the gun drops. Peter then swung again, this time hitting the guy who was holding Sasha and fondling her. The guy reached to his backside, going for his weapon. Peter swung again hard, knocking the man on his butt. Peter grabbed Sasha and saw the bride walking towards them. Peter looked at the gang members, then at the ghost lady slowly approaching. He rushed Sasha inside his apartment. 2 of the thugs opened fire at Peter's door. Peter was grazed on his shoulder. Peter then pushed his sofa into the door and grabbed his lizard from the aquarium. He told Sasha to follow him to his bedroom and that he had already called the cops. Outside the apartment, the thugs started hitting the door and began shooting into it. "Man, let's go. She isn't worth jail. We can come back another time. Let's go," the man with the grill says, putting back on his pants. Just as he was pulling them up, his 3 friends stared at him in horror. He saw that they were looking at something he had not yet seen. The thug turned around, seeing the bride walking straight at him. The atmosphere seemed to change. The walls vibrated, the lights dimmed and flickered, and the ghostly cries seemed to come from all parts of the building. The man with the grill was grabbed by the neck. He peed himself and was frozen in fear. The bride's fingers punctured through his throat as she held him. He kicked and struggled, trying to breathe. She smiled at his friends with an undead, fleshy, transparent, cut-up face appearing and disappearing from her skeleton ghost facial features. She made a disturbing sound of enjoyment, which made all tremble. She then screamed at the 3 men. The man with tattoos all over himself was next. She dropped the one with the grill, who was now dead and limp. The youngster who looked like a kid brother to one of the men opened fire. The bullets made holes in the bride, but it did not stop her. She turned to him with her veil blowing up from unnatural forces of wind. Her transparent, rotten skin showed, revealing a slaughtered face with missing teeth. The young man backed into a wall and peed his pants. The bride smiled at him. Blood splattered on the walls, and the screams of horror echoed out. The landlord fled the building, running with a limp down the street in fear for her life. She had never heard anything like it. The yells sounded like torture, and mutilation was happening. The building lights flickered, and the power went out and came on several times. The other two families made a run. The sound of the crying bride is heard while fleeing the apartment building. As the Hispanic woman made her way downstairs, she saw faces forming in the walls. The faces were screaming. One of the faces in the wall is of the homeless man the bride murdered. The Hispanic lady ran, and her daughters followed her, and she told them to close their eyes. The staircase shook, the floors seemed to shift and crack. When the family made it outside, the woman turned around, seeing an apparition of the bride standing in the doorway. Reaching for her, the mother grabbed her daughters and made a run for it. The last sound was of a man screaming and begging for his life. He was shouting out for the Lord to save him, and he was making promises that he would be a better person and that he was sorry. He said sorry over and over again. "You had your chance," a sinister voice says back to him. Then there was this long ripping sound. It sounded like meat being ripped and stretched apart. When the sound came, the man was hollering in agony. Sasha and Peter stood in his bedroom behind the closed door, both holding their ears, not wanting to hear any of the violent acts. The screams ended. Then there was silence. Soon, they could hear a police siren coming. Sasha found herself holding on to Peter. She didn't care how it looked. She was praying to God and praying for her and Peter to make it out alive. Peter looked down at her and sighed, trying to calm down. He rubbed her hand and whispered that she would be okay. "Thank you, Peter, you saved me," Sasha says with tears. Peter's iguana sits on his shoulder. Sasha nearly screams. Noticing it, the lizard looks to the right, then left as though not knowing why Sasha is afraid. "I think it's over," Peter says, stepping away from Sasha. Peter started walking to his bedroom door. He felt that his apartment had never been entered, and he opened his bedroom door to see the sofa still blocking the front entrance door. The door that now has bullet holes in it. Sasha joined him, and they both could see blood on the carpet that had seeped in from the hall. Peter told Sasha to stay back. He walked over to remove the sofa. "Peter, don't. Let's just go back to the bedroom and wait for the police to get here," Sasha says, feeling worried. Peter opens his door and looks out into the hallway. Bodies lie scattered out, faces scratched and unrecognizable. One man's body is split in half. Peter turned away, heading back into his apartment, and he ran to his kitchen and threw up in the sink. Sasha then walks over to look out into the hallway. It took her a long minute to even do it, but when she did, she was met with the bride standing right in her view, looking down at her with her empty eye sockets. The ghost is taller than Sasha, and her looking down at her sent chills up and down her spine. The bride slightly turned her head to one side as if trying to communicate. A bony hand reaches into the apartment and lands on Sasha's shoulder. The bride leans down so her face is now right next to Sasha. The skeletal hand pressed on her shoulder, slightly squeezed it. Your God told me to spare, so I spare, the bride says, hauntingly. The bride steps aside and points to the staircase for Sasha to leave. Sasha went to Peter and grabbed his hand. She told him to close his eyes and follow her out of the apartment. Peter asked why. Sasha told him just to do it and to promise her not to open them until they left the building. Peter felt Sasha was trying to save him from something he did not understand, but for some reason he felt he had to trust her. She took his hand and led him out into the hallway, walking past the bride. The bride stood still, pointing at the staircase. The iguana was still on Peter's shoulder, just looking around. Peter walked on, and when Sasha walked down the steps, she can hear the bride crying behind her. Then she noticed the bride was walking towards her. Sasha thought, "Why is she following me? Didn't she say we can leave?" She told Peter to move faster. Just as they passed the landlord's office, Sasha heard the bride laugh. "I lied," the bride says. Just then, the bride's hand grabs Sasha's shoulder, and Sasha screams, pushing Peter towards the exit. The bride's fingers dig into Sasha's flesh, piercing her shoulder. Peter stumbles forward, opening his eyes. He looks back, seeing Sasha being pulled away. The bride then jabs her fingers into Sasha's stomach, making her flinch. Sasha turns around, yelling in pain. She then forces her body out of the bride's grip. Peter takes Sasha's hand, and they both run out of the apartment building. The bride follows them, reaching for the two of them. The bride vanishes just as she reaches the doorway. A black mist is left fading away into nothingness. 2 police cars pull up to the apartment building. Sasha, along with Peter, goes to the driver of one of the cars. Frightened and shaken, they both tried to explain what had just happened. One of the cops didn't believe them. He asked if they had been drinking, and Sasha was in tears and begging them to believe them. Then Peter stopped one of the cops from entering the building, and the policeman put him in cuffs and made him sit in the back seat of his patrol car. The other officer tried to get Sasha to calm down, but she was hysterical. The officer who handcuffed Peter turned to see the bride standing in a window on the 2nd floor. She just stood there with her ghostly, transparent features. The ghost bride faded away from view. The officer heard stories, and after seeing the bride, he wasn't going to go in alone. Sasha found a nice town home in a better part of town. It was a 30-minute drive to work, but it was worth it. The living area was more upkept, and the view was nice. She was happy. She was well on her way to better things. She started dating again, and Peter is now her boyfriend. The two of them sat out at a beach one evening, just watching the waves. Sasha, holding the iguana and rubbing her fingers across its tail, Peter sits talking with her. As Peter spoke, Sasha caught a blurred apparition of the bride standing in the water facing her. The side of her stomach, where she was stabbed by the ghost, started to ache. Sasha placed her hand there and let out a breath, feeling a burning sensation. After a few seconds, the pain went away. The sight frightened Sasha. She sat up fast in her beach chair, holding the iguana. She squinted her eyes, and the bride was gone. Peter asked if she was okay. Sasha scanned the beach, searching with her eyes for the bride. When she didn't see her, she began to calm down. Peter kisses her cheek and takes her hand into his. "We're going to be fine, just fine," Peter says to Sasha. Sasha lets out a breath, relaxing herself. She fanned her face with one hand. From behind her, the bride stands peering over her shoulder, looking down at the couple with a twisted, sinister smile.